joined by Daniel. And today's going to be a very interesting subject, one that might not sound very sexy, but it's around insurance and the importance of ensuring that all of those property investors are not underinsured, or you're actually not insured and don't even realize it. My name is Andrew Walker, and Dave, myself, and the team go live every Monday at 1 o'clock, what we call our coffee chat. It's a general conversation for us to update you with what's happening in our property portfolios, what happened the week before, what events are coming up this week and next week. We're kind of in COVID, we're out of COVID. What are we doing as property investors? And there's Dave, my companion. Dave, how's it going?
How's Drew? How are you doing?
Good. It's good to see you alive there, bro.
Barely.
Yeah. Well, it's good. You're better today than you were last week. That's for sure, eh?
Yeah. I've had a rough couple of days. It's not been fun.
Oh, shame, man. Yeah, I think quite a few people were sick last week. I mean, Dave, there was an event that happened on Saturday. Shame. I feel sorry for the organizers. It's such an awesome event. But I think because of COVID, people getting sick, the turnout wasn't as great as they wanted it to be. And, they did predict April, May was going to be the fifth wave of COVID. And here we are in the middle of that wave. And, how long is it going to last, Dave? Is how long is a piece of string, right?
Yeah,
so
100%. Yeah.
We just got to see. So if you're here for the first time, if you have any property questions that you want to ask about your portfolio, about what's happening, where we're going, please feel free to ask in the comments box. Put a comment. Tag your friends in. If you have any friends or colleagues or people that yes, we are interested in property. It might be that they want to get started in property. It may be that they've got a property portfolio and they're stuck. Or it could just be that, or it could be the youth. And I know Dave is trying to bring Daniel on, just sorting out a few internet issues over there, which we will resolve. So I'm going to see if I can get us live over here. I'm going to see who's joined us. So let's see. Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm just putting a comment here on Facebook. You might be on YouTube or you might be on Facebook. Let us know. I mean, and Dave, I was on a bit of a mission yesterday morning. I went for a car wash. And I decided to go to the bank repossessed sites. And geez, I picked up potentially about 15 potential repossessed properties, which I've contacted the agents. I can see my inbox is getting full. And I'm going on a mission, Dave, to go view as many repossessed properties and just putting in cheeky offers. So I've started reaching out to some of the youth guys in Joburg because I can't be everywhere. There's one in Edenvale, actually. There's some in Vereeniging, the Vaal, the North. Because, Dave, around us right now, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in sale and execution, properties going to the sheriff auction and repossessed properties. And I think we sometimes get complacent. And so I said to Simone, Dave, I'm just going to go out there, I'm going to view, I'm going to put in low ball offers. And even out of 15, if I can get one deal accepted that makes me a few $100,000, why not? I wonder what it's like in Cape Town, because when I went onto Nedbanks, for example, there's only Joburg and Durban. I didn't see any repossessed properties in Cape Town, but there must be some, surely.
It's always been one of those things. The repo sort of lists in Cape Town are always a little bit light when you compare to the rest of the country. I don't know. Maybe we manage our finances better.
Must be.
But you definitely do get them. I'm quickly just opening up private property now to check. Yeah, Western Cape is 64. Gauteng is 666.
No, really? Eh? So you 10% of what we have.
Yeah, KZN is about 112. There'll be more now with the flooding, but yeah.
So right now,
mostly Gauteng.
And was that private property you went to?
Yeah, that's private property. That's generally where I check my bank properties for sale.
So Dave,
that'll be PIP onwards, or PIPs.
Collectively, how many is that? Is it about 700?
They got 1,100 listed across.
So right now, there's 1,100 properties which have been repossessed by the bank, or you'll find a portion of them are still in the sale and execution.
Sale, yeah.
Sale and execution or repossessed by the bank. And so everyone wanting to do a flip or get into a property and get the chance of getting a good deal, have a look at those repossessed properties. They are slightly different to your normal traditional sale. If you do want to put an offer, some banks will ask you to put a deposit down. If there's a tenant in the property, it's your problem. Some of these properties you can't get into, so you are taking risk. So just make sure if you do go down the road of repossessed properties, that you ensure that you know what you're doing with that. And make sure that when you do buy it, that you do get the right insurance. I mean, Dave, insurance is a topic or subject that not many people kind of want to talk about, but it's one of the most important parts of being a successful property investor, because I see a lot of guys doing multi-lets and developments and sometimes, illegal properties. And yes, they've got insurance from the bank, but the banks don't know that it's been converted. So are they actually insured? And that's a conversation we're going to have today. But I think before we bring on our guest speaker, Jared, Dave, perhaps you can take us through what's happening this week and next week with regards to events, and then we'll bring on Jared.
100% can do that. So Daniel Kazadi, who's unfortunately having some joining issues at the moment, he has a webinar tomorrow with the Sapin Youth guys. So if you're part of the Sapin Youth team, make sure you're in contact with Dan to join that. And then later this week, Thursday, Drew, you've got a webinar on Thursday from 6 o'clock onwards, talking about some of our upcoming events. We're going to be talking about the 3 critical ways to fund your property portfolio. And you're also going to be talking about our 2-day workshop that happens on the 21st and 22nd. I'll put a link to that.
I think, Dave, on that, Thursday night, it's a free webinar. The biggest problem and the most amounts of leads we get through Sapin are investors saying, Andrew, how do I fund this? I can't go to a traditional bank, but I really want to get into property or expand my portfolio. So I'm not going to go through the basics like getting a bond and getting pre-qualified, because we all know about that. Dave, I want to get very creative. How do you get the seller to negotiate the deal for you? How do you actually structure that? How do you, when you're entering into a joint venture partnership and you're buying for cash, how does that work? So myself and my team will go through, and I've only chosen 3 different ways, but I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on each. So make sure that if you are at a point in your portfolio that you just want some guidance or assistance, or maybe you're just looking for something new, there's no cost at all. Thursday night, I'll be covering that.
Yeah, 100%. Thursday night, link is in the chat box for all of you if you want to take a look and register for that one. Otherwise, looking a little further afield, next week, Joburg has a premier event. So Drew, we were talking about that earlier. You're going to be out at Villa Bianca talking to Bruno, Ross, Miguel. What's the plan for next Thursday?
Yeah, so Thursday night's actually all about managing your tenants and how do you get your tenants to pay on time and not trash your property. So how do you start off with the right tenants? What do the credit checks look like? What are letting agents doing these days to ensure that you're getting the right tenants? I met a guy on a workshop 2 weekends ago, and fortunately he picked up that his letting agent, who, to be fair to her, she was new. I'm not sure what the agency was. And the documents were fraudulent, Dave. Like the bank statement, you could see that edited it. And a long story short, there's a lot of investors where tenants are fraudulently adjusting the documents and they're getting moved into properties, and it's a headache. So Thursday at the premier event, we bring in preferential, Ross from preferential, Bruno from the eviction side. If you have to evict, how does that look? And so that's going to be conversational. But maybe 50, 60 of us investors, but you must be an intermediate or professional member, Dave, and it's very conversational around just make sure as a property investor, because remember, Dave, there's only 2 risks in property. The tenant doesn't pay rent or they trash the house, one of the 2. Hey, look who we have live with us, Dan Kazani. How are you?
Good, thanks, and yourself, my brother. Gee, so sorry, Dave, for that. How are you doing, Dave?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm good, but yeah.
Yeah, so Dan, just very quickly, Sapin Youth, that's Tuesday night, eh?
Yeah, that's tomorrow night. Super excited. If anyone here is a youth, a youngster, I know we have troubles defining the actual limit of the youth, but I am running an awesome webinar tomorrow. Well, we'll be discussing my journey plan, right? Being a youngster myself, in South Africa, having invested in property as well, be discussing things like installment sales, how to flip properties, how to source properties. And if you are a youngster out there looking to kickstart your journey, I think that's one you definitely want to join, huh?
Definitely, 100%. But Dan, I want to introduce the speaker. Can you please introduce our keynote speaker for today?
Awesome. The keynote speaker today is a man called Jared from Genesis. He's focused on insurance, like Andrew said, the importance of your property investment. A huge part of it is insurance. Hey, anything goes wrong. But I see Jared is on board. Jared, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, and you guys?
Very good,
yes,
very
man.
Good. Great weekend, Mother's Day, very chill, so it is good. And yourself, Jared, how are you?
Yeah, excellent, man. Can't complain. Had a good weekend and ready for the week ahead.
Yeah, same. Yeah, hey, at least now. Well, I say there's no more public holidays. I'm sure there's one or two coming up. I think they're in June, maybe. I'm not sure if there's any left
Yeah.
in May.
I think the
Well,
16th of June, Youth Day.
yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Look at Dan's smile. But I think, Jared, let's clarify, who's Jared and what do you do and how are you helping investors? And then, ladies and gents, if you have any questions around insurance, it might be that you're getting into a multi-let or student accommodation or block of flats or commercial. How do you know if you're insured? That's what this conversation's all about. So please ask any questions that do come to mind. Over to you, Jared.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it. So I represent a business called Genesis Insurance Brokers. We were established in 1994, and we are what is traditionally known as an independent intermediary or an insurance broker. We are based in the Fourways area, Johannesburg, and we work with most of the top tier insurers, advising in terms of their financial products, both short-term and long-term insurance. So really, we play a role as an insurance broker. We help our clients, we advise them in terms of the products that exist in the market and ensure that they are adequately covered in that regard.
Absolutely. I mean, Dan, you're young, right? You're 22 and you've done a few property deals. What's a common question that you have around insurance? I mean, what do you think about when you've got insurance property here?
Yeah, that's why I'm super excited to have this conversation with Jared, right? Because I've been in the industry, I've done a couple of deals, and I just wanted to maybe check with Jared what is actually important, or better way to phrase it would be, what would be a critical thing for an investor to think about when going into a property deal, for instance, flipping a property or a normal buy-to-let, or even a multi-let. What are some things to consider when doing those sort of strategies?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Daniel. I think the thing is with insurance is that it's not exactly a sexy subject. It's not something that we give a lot of attention to, but it is very important. Whether you're buying a property for the long term or you're flipping and selling, the important thing is to make sure that you are correctly covered. So some of the things that you need to look out for when insuring a property is first and foremost, what is the correct sum insured or value of that property from an insurance perspective. So when we buy a property as an investor, we think about the market value of that property. And the thing is that the market value is not necessarily aligned with your insured value, or what we refer to as the sum insured of a property. So when it comes to insuring correctly, what we need to think about is what is the replacement value of that property. And the replacement value of that property dictates the amount that we should actually insure that property for. And often those can be two very different things. A market value of a property could be far less than what the replacement value of the property is. We're picking up bargains. We might have got the property at a cheap price, but what it would cost to rebuild that property might be a whole lot more. And so if we end up insuring for market value as opposed to replacement value, we could leave ourselves short, and that will have an effect on our claim if we had one. There's this little clause in most insurance policies called the average condition. And essentially what that means is that if you underinsure, you are then, responsible for the portion that you underinsured for. And that could end up affecting your pocket, in a massive way. So it's very important to ensure that you insure for the correct value. And, I suppose that's where the value of a broker comes in, because they can advise you in terms of what the correct sum insured should be. So that's one of the things to think about. And then another one is, what is the occupation of that risk? Who's living in that property? What is it being used for? All of those things are very important, because the insurers need to know what the risk is that they're insuring. If they don't know what the risk is, if it's being used on a commercial basis and you insure it on a personal basis, again, that can create problems for you at claim stage. So that's just another thing to think about. And lastly, what is the construction of the property? Is it a thatch risk? That's a big thing for insurers. It's rated very differently, and that needs to be disclosed to insurers. So, yeah, those are the,
If you're a
just a
LARPer,
few of the things.
so
Yeah,
Yeah,
LARPer.
just
there's a LARPer.
Yeah.
So how do you? So when you insure the property, you'll say if you change insurance companies, if they came over to you, for example, and you found that they've got a LARPer. I mean, does it just put up your premium? How does it work? Do you have a fire extinguisher and a LARPer?
So it all depends on where that LARPer is situated. So, I mean, if the LARPer is detached from the property and it's a good 2-3 meters away from the property and it doesn't actually touch the main residence, if it's a small LARPer, then that's not too much of an issue. But if it's a big, if it touches the house and it's of a significant size, then absolutely that changes the risk in the insurer's eyes, and then they must be aware of that. And the unfortunate thing is that because thatch is seen as such a high risk, it's generally rated a lot higher than a normal standard construction. But very important, because if the insurer isn't aware of it and something goes wrong, again, that can cause a problem for you at claim stage.
God, that's super cool. I think going back on the 3 things you said we should keep in mind. Anzo, I think when you started off, you mentioned some property investors being creative. They use a property as a multi-let when they do not have consent to use it as a commune. And Jared, you said it could be tricky to claim on those, huh?
Yeah, look, I think the important thing is to make the insurer aware of the fact that, it is a multi-let or it is being used as a commune. Each insurer views the risk differently, but all of them want to know, if it's a commune or not, because it does change the risk. So the trick is, when in doubt, rather disclose, because if that type of thing is not disclosed, it is something that the insurer can stand on to reject a claim. They can turn around and say, listen, we weren't aware of the risk. We didn't know. And at the end of the day, the onus is on the insured or the person taking out the insurance policy to make the insurer aware of this. It's in their policy contract. So, at the end of the day, when in doubt, always disclose.
And I think that's a problem, because most people that do go take out bonds, they may buy a residential property. It's a 3-bedroom property, there's a cottage. Then they go and they create a 4 or 5-bedroom multi-let on the property. So when they took the property out, say, for example, Absa Bank send a surveyor out, if they do send a surveyor out, they survey going, residential, there's 1 kitchen, there's 2 bathrooms, it's a house. And there's standard insurance in place to cover that. The family's moving in. Now the investor's going, actually, this could be a cool commune. I'm going to build a 2nd unit. And this is where people are going wrong, Jared, is that they don't think, most people don't think of the insurance. So if that happened and they completely changed, and the property should maybe be, as an example, Res 2 or Res 3, or the zoning had to change or consent, could it be possible that when an individual tries to claim against that property, that they may not even get the claim or get the money?
100% right. Yeah. You must remember that there's a separation. Even if the bank gives you the insurance policy, the surveyor that they're sending out is generally to check whether the market value is sufficient or adequate. It's not from an insurance perspective. The insurance companies don't do an upfront survey most of the time when it comes to residential properties. So don't take it for granted that because somebody from the bank has been out to view the property that you are correctly insured, because it's not necessarily the case. So it's important to scrutinize that insurance policy. Don't just take it for granted that you are covered correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think what comes to mind when we talk of insurance was an incident that happened a while back, and when one of the property coaches, one of his properties burnt down, and that just highlights the importance of insurance and everything.
Just like somebody to leave a gas stove on or a cigarette, and the guy falls asleep, and that's what happens, right? You fall asleep, next thing your house is on fire. And I think, Jared, that's what I want to ask you, questions around investors. So investors, let's say someone's flipping a property, for example, or it's about to let, but now it's going to be empty because they're going to do a renovation. How far does insurance go? Because yes, there's the buildings insurance. When you buy through a bank, you automatically get given buildings insurance. Do you have to take that insurance? No. They could come to you for a comparable quotation. Now, if the property is vacant and it gets broken into, so there's no one in the property, How does insurance see that? Do you need to let them know that the property is going to be vacant for a certain period of time?
Absolutely, yeah. Another very good point that if that property is unoccupied, you need to let the insurer know. Again, it changes the risk, and the insurer needs to be made aware of it.
And you know what? Most people don't do that.
Most people don't. We don't think about it. Insurance is an afterthought, but most, if not all, insurance policies have a clause in it, an unoccupancy clause, which states that if that property is unoccupied for a certain period of time, it's normally 45 or 60 days, then there won't be any cover when it comes to theft of the internal fixtures and fittings and things like that. So very important to make the insurer aware, so that they may put some suspensive conditions in place, but at least still give you some form of cover. If you don't make them aware, it will cause a problem for you at claim stage.
It just complicates things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's brings me to my next question: the beauty of a relationship with somebody like yourself, right? Versus me going directly to an insurance company. In the home loan space, I could go directly to ABSA, to FNB, to Investing. I could physically go to all the banks and all the credit checks done, or I could just go through Uber Home Loans, for example, right? What's the benefit of coming to you versus me going to all the other companies or insurance companies directly?
So, I mean, look, the main thing is that we take the work out of it for you. Because we're independent, we have contracts with all the main insurers. And so, we're able to engage with all of those insurers and find you the best possible outcome.
Sure.
The other benefit of working with a broker is that, a broker is somebody that acts on your behalf and is in a position to advise you correctly in terms of all of these products. When you're dealing directly with an insurer, you're kind of missing that element of advice, and that person that's going to be in your corner to fight the good fight for you as and when is required. So there's a lot of value in having a broker, and there's a misconception that it's not more expensive to have a broker. Brokers are paid commission by the insurers, so you don't pay anything more dealing with a broker as you would dealing directly with the insurer. But at least then you have somebody that acts as a buffer, somebody that can advise you correctly, independently, in terms of the various products that exist in the market. And as I said, somebody that can fight your fight at claim stage.
Absolutely.
That's so cool, huh? Yeah, that was going to be my next question, actually, the importance of having a broker, because I thought they would be expensive.
Yeah.
No, it's a misconception.
Okay.
A broker's commission is regulated. And any commission that a broker is paid by the insurer, so it's not something which the client ends up paying at the end of the day.
Sure, definitely. And I want to ask a question around contents insurance. So we're speaking of buildings insurance, and coming back to building insurance, Jared, the amount of people I've spoken to that have bought properties for cash, where the attorney hasn't reminded them to take out the buildings insurance. For example, in the UK. You cannot buy property without insurance. Whether you're buying cash or you're buying with a bond, the attorney will not let the transaction happen unless you've taken it out. But I've seen here in South Africa, individuals buying a flat for 300 grand or a house for $1 million cash, and they don't take out any insurance. Only because, like you said, it's an afterthought, right? And so just a message to everyone, when you're buying a property, regardless of if you're buying through a bank or you're buying cash, remember, you don't have to use the bank's insurance. Have you ever read those documents? Probably not. And that's why I go to Jared and say, Jared, I'm busy buying a property. This is the bank's insurance. This is the cost. This is how much cover I'm getting. Jared, what can you do for me? At least then you're doing your market research. As you go look for a property and you look at various different properties, you choose the best property. It's the same as insurance. When you get into the property, if Jared could help you save, even if it's a rand, it's bottom line profit for you. And if Jared could help you get more cover, that's definitely a plus for a property investor. So make sure that your buildings are sorted. Now, Jared, as you know, we've got some investors doing student accommodation or general multi, but pro multi-lets. You got good tenants in there. There's TVs in there. The landlord has supplied in some cases for student accommodation. There's fridges. There's a stove. There's couches. They've in some instances spend hundreds of thousands of rands just on furniture. Talk to us about the cover on that and how you calculate that and how much should that be?
Yeah. So again, when it comes to your contents insurance, the important thing is to think about, what your total value at risk is. So, a lot of the time people think, when they think contents, we only think about the things that could potentially be stolen. But that's not the right way to look at it, because the insurer will always insure you for your total loss. If that property had to burn down and you lost everything in that property, that is the amount that you need to insure for, because they're not only insuring you for theft, they're insuring you for fire, lightning, all of those good things as well. So you need to insure for your total value at risk. So if the property had to burn down, how much money would the insurer need to give you to replace absolutely everything in the home? And that's what you need to look at.
So then, Jared, let's say I went out and I bought a property, and I went and I bought new couches, TVs. Would I then just give you an inventory? Say, Jared, here's a list, and here's proof that I bought the TVs and I bought the couches and the cupboards, and you'll have that on file. So if it did burn down, you'll just pull that inventory out. Is that how it works?
So there's a number of ways we can do it. So we don't necessarily need an inventory up front, and we don't necessarily need proof of purchase for all of those items up front. What is important is just to establish the correct sum insured. So we just need to have an understanding of what that total sum insured is, just the figure. But it's always important to keep proof of ownership for all of those items, so that in the event of a claim, you could prove ownership, and also help the insurer establish what the correct replacement value is. We also have a service whereby we can assist with professional valuations, which will help you to establish the actual value of your contents. Otherwise, a simple inventory form, making use of that, will also help you establish the correct value as well.
Absolutely. Okay, great, Jared. What we're going to do, myself and Dan are going to quickly run through the events for this week and next week. We'll bring you back on. And if anyone has any questions for Jared, I'll also share how they can reach you, Jared, through Sappin and your site on Sappin. So, Dan, let's quickly run through what events are happening this week and next week, and see if there's any last questions. And then by that, because it's 1:30 already, wow, time is flying.
Yeah.
And then we'll take it from there. How does that sound, Dan?
Awesome. Let's go through the events. We've got a pretty awesome week and month planned for everyone. I think tomorrow I'm running a Sappin Youth webinar for all the youngsters looking to start their property investment journey. Please do join that. On Thursday, Andrew is running a webinar as well, where he will be discussing various ways of funding your property investment opportunities. And yeah, that's going to be a fun one, Andrew. And you're going to actually talk about an event Leroy and Jade are going to be hosting in Johannesburg, a wealth builder, on the 21st to the 22nd, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So Thursday night, because there's the 21st, 22nd of May. It's a in-person 2-day wealth builder workshop. Jade's coming up from Port Elizabeth. Leroy's going to be there. Mark Berman's going to be there, talking about if you want to start building and you want to go build a block of flats, or you want to build a property on your property, Mark Berman's got a slot around that. So, Dan, there's going to be awesome speakers there. You'll be there as well, from Sappin Youth. But just quickly come back to tomorrow night, Tuesday night. Yeah. What time is the webinar?
So it's from 6 till 7:30. Hopefully we do finish at 7:30. We normally tend to go longer because everyone has questions, but it's from 6 to 7:30.
Okay, brilliant. And that's for the youth, right? So anyone that wants to get involved, that could be your kids, it could be your friends, your colleagues. Sappin Youth is something which Dan is formally launching tomorrow night, trying to get as many youth as possible in South Africa. And then, we've got the premier event next week, Thursday, don't we?
On the 19th of May in Johannesburg, we are having the premier event. So it's going to be awesome for all the premier members to come and network and interact with all the other partners, and it's going to be formally networking here, and there won't be much of talks and stuff.
Yeah. So that event's all about managing your tenant. How do you get the right tenant? What kind of credit checks are landlords now doing? Because then you see it very often where tenants, they're desperate. They can edit PDFs. They give fake payslips. They give friends' phone numbers as employees. So as investors, how do we protect ourselves when we move a tenant into one of our properties? Dan, how do we just ensure that it's definitely the right tenant? How do we get insurance on that? But if you are in a position where you got to evict, how are evictions looking in South Africa right now? So that evening it's going to be in the East Rand of Johannesburg. It's very conversational. There's no formal presentations. It's our professional members and intermediate members talking about tenants and management and evictions. And we've got a few horror stories we'll bring to the table and let you know how we resolved those horror stories and what actually went wrong. So down there's some awesome events coming up, which is great. Dave, as my team, has posted a link in that comment section, so you can click on that if you want to find out more about the events and all the other events that are leading up. Okay, cool. So Dan, I'm going to actually share my screen. Should we bring our speaker back, Jared?
Yeah, let's bring Jared back.
You can go to SAP and Connect, everyone, if you want to click with Jared. So even if you own a property portfolio right now, if you own 1 property or 10 properties or building, whatever the case might be, most of you, I'm making an assumption here, but I'm probably right, but most of you haven't actually reviewed your insurance on your properties. And like we've been talking about, are you insured for the right sum? Do you have the right insurance in place? If in doubt, rather be proactive. Rather make sure you the link in the comments box there. My team has posted a link, SAP and Connect, and you'll see right at the bottom here, insurance and Genesis, and all you do is you click on it, a tab will open, and if you want to send a message directly to Jared, you can come on here, you can see what Jared does, and you can put your contact details in there, go straight to Jared. Jared will then review the insurance that you have in place, make sure that you do, and it might be that Jared turns around, and I'll stop sharing now, and it might be that Jared turns around and says, actually, no, Andrew, the insurance is 100%. I like the cover. The price he's got is great, but you don't know until you come to the party and ask. So, yeah, that's how you join. So, Jared, from your side, I mean, is there anything else you want to tell our investors? Any stories you want to tell? Any advice you want to give to our investors now?
Yeah, I think just most importantly, I think, as I said before, insurance is obviously not the most exciting subject, but it is critical, especially when we're talking about assets which have a substantial value. You don't want to learn the lesson the hard way. On a daily basis, we have clients whose premises are burning down, obviously weather patterns, that sort of thing. There's a lot of risk that goes along with owning a property these days. So it's very important to be covered correctly and to insure correctly. So rather do the hard work upfront to make sure that you're covered correctly, so as not to learn the lesson the hard way down the line.
Absolutely. And Jared, it'll be good to get someone from your company next Thursday night, because we're talking about the insurance side of things with regards to managing tenants and buildings insurance and all of that. So it'll be lovely to see you there. Next Thursday evening, the 19th, you or somebody from the company. And thank you so much for your time and for joining us. It's already 25 to. I think there's been some great value. So ladies and gents, whether you own a property or not right now, you may know somebody, parents, brothers, sisters, family, just to protect them, make sure they do contact us, and make sure they do have the right insurance. The links are in the comments box over there. But I think, Jared, for myself and Daniel, thank you again. And we'll be speaking to you very soon, eh?
Great. Look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Jared. Speak soon.
Thanks, Jared.
All the best. Cheers, guys.
Cool, man. Cheers, eh? And Dan, there is another event happening tonight, actually. If you look in there, you can see Isabel has posted a link. So, ladies and gents, this evening, you'll see in the comments box, the brokerage are hosting a webinar this evening. Now, we know, if you don't know the brokerage, what do? They help connect investors. So if you're looking for a deal, they can assist you. If you're selling a deal, they can assist you. If you're in a deal and you've got to raise a few $100,000, they can assist you. So it's a last minute event. It's happening tonight. The link is in the chat box, as you can see, or the comments box, shall I say. If you're looking for a deal, if you're selling a deal, if you need to raise some capital, make sure you click Isabel and with Nico. The link is there, so make sure you click on that. Okay, great, Dan. Let's see who's online with us.
Yeah.
Oh, good to see you there, Andrew. Long time, absolutely. It's been ages, man. Tumaleng, good to see you, and Henry, good to see you as well. Irvin, good to see lots of our regulars on today, which is great. Alicia, good to see you as well. Yeah, so I think we can start ending off. Dave, I don't know if you want to come on and say bye. Dan, are there any last words from your side? Because from my side, Dan, as you saw yesterday morning, I was saying to Dave, I've been very busy. I'm on a mission to view, like, not every repossessed property. That's exaggerating a bit, but I'm on a mission because, like Dave said, there's over 600 repossessed properties here in Joburg. There's only 60 in Cape Town and just over 100 in Durban.
Did Dave fabricate those numbers?
Yeah, like, why not? So let's just go board. Let's go put some low offers in. I've seen some great deals on the network recently, like really good bargains. So yeah, I'm going to show the youth how it's done, eh?
Oh, that's so cool, dude. I don't know how Dave got like 60 in Cape Town and we have 600, literally 10%.
Hey,
Did
I
he
can share my
fabricate those
screen.
numbers?
That is crazy. No, but it's exciting, and it just shows that there's a good opportunity. Dave, for fun, not for fun, why don't you go out and you go view a few of the repossessed properties out there in Cape Town?
Give me another day or two of isolation, and sure, I'll get out.
Yeah, I mean, like next week or the week after when you're better.
Yeah, in a week or two, once I'm not contagious, then we can do that.
Yeah, exactly. But no, this has been a good session. And Jared, thank you again for your time. Like Dave, you always talk about insurance is an afterthought. People look at cash flow, they look at the property, they look at the refurb, but they don't tell the insurers when the property's vacant. They don't insure. Like, if you think about it, an investor will scrutinize a letting agency's monthly management fee. Oh, can you reduce it? And that's okay to negotiate. But why don't they do it with the insurance? Why don't they go, okay, I'll be offered insurance. Why don't I actually have a look at the comparables? And don't get me wrong, some people do. I'm talking about the masses, though. They don't. They get the insurance, and it's the last time they visit. So it could be that they're underinsured, that they've got the wrong insurance because now they've changed the use of the property, and it's just something which we haven't spoken about in a while. So yeah, I can see, Dave, you popped that link into the chat box.
Yeah, just to prove myself.
What I'll do, just for the audience, for those of you, and let us know who's interested in repossessed properties. Let us know in that chat box who is interested in repossessed properties. Let us know. You should be able to see my screen, Dave.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so it's intense. There's about 1,200 repossessed properties, and half of them is in Joburg.
Yeah, well, that's a cha-ching. That is a cha-ching.
Cha-ching, yeah.
Yeah, let's go and have a look. Okay. I'm going to go East Rand. That's where I am. 137 in the East Rand. Okay, so we got Jameson Central, Boksburg South, Wildberg, Glen Murray. We've just done a deal in Glen Murray. I'm going to go there, definitely. I know exactly where that is. Kempton Park, Etwatwa, Klipurki, Crystal Park, Kempton Park Central. Jeez, there's a lot, eh? Nice, Dave. Good find, you. Good opportunities. I won't go through them all, but it just shows you. And a lot of these will be empty. A lot of them will be occupied. Remember, when you're buying repossessed properties, you'll see on the web bank websites, OTP, that you buy what you see. If you buy cash and you never view the property and the owner's in there, don't say the owner, it's your responsibility to evict them. Just make sure, depending what bank you go with, sometimes the bank will clear all the outstanding rates and taxes. Some banks won't. So make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. But good opportunity. Thanks, Dave. I'm on a mission to go do some of them. I'm going to put some lowball offers. Because for our group coaching, Dave, so Dave and I run the group coaching for Sappin, and we set everyone that was on the last call, we set them a target. Dave, was it 10 signed offers was the goal? Was the target?
Yeah, 10 offers. Sounds about right.
Yeah, so 10 offers. So, yeah, I'm going to get out there and try and get 10 offers, and I want to win the prize.
It's good. Someone has to beat Jean Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Jean Paul on the ball again, which is great. But no, otherwise, Dan, any last comments from your side? Oh, actually, there's a question there, Dave. Apologies. Where is the event going to be hosted on Thursday night?
So this Thursday night there's a webinar. So that's online. You can check the links in the chat box. And then next Thursday, Drew mentioned that there's the exclusive event that's in the East Rand of Joburg. We'll confirm the venue closer to the time. That's for intermediate and professional members only.
Yeah. So this week is all virtual, and next week Thursday is in person. And again, Dave, we should be conscious of COVID numbers where we go with COVID up, down, staying the same. We'll make sure we abide by all those regulations and rules. And yeah, so Dan, one comment from your side.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Like Brandon said, he's excited for the youth webinar. So if you've got any kids that might want to venture into property, entrepreneurship, not just the investment side of things, definitely get them on the webinar I'm hosting tomorrow. And yeah, thank you so much for having me, Andrew and Dave. Eh?
Yeah, pleasure, man. Let's get you on more often.
Definitely.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you at the events. Unless there's any comments in there, Dave, that you can see before we sign off.
No, there's no questions. Nothing else we can call it.
Cool.
It's all good.
Lekker. Good to see the Dries and Brendan and Sats. And Sats, I'll see you at your property for the live stream. Dave, that's the live stream I was going to do on Saturday, but we postponed it to this week sometime. Stats is very interested in repo. Stats, I'll keep you up to date with regards to what's happening here in Edenvale. There's actually one Stats in the avenues right now. I'm going to call the agent after this call. Okay, cool, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Cool.